role has coaching played in your success over the past few years?
One is that I need it. I need that constant need. Garrett sitting over here smiling. Like, I need that person to like, fuck, Chris, pump the brakes here. Let's sit down and, we'll figure out where we're going to go. But coaching is something that I always balked at because when you have an inflated ego, and this goes back to my drinking days, is you don't need anybody's help. I am the best. I am great at everything I do. A coach, I don't need a coach. Like, it wasn't until I was served up a big piece of humble pie, and I think everybody should have a coach of some type, whether it's a coach to grow personally, whether it's a coach to grow your business, whether it's a coach. I mean, I grew up playing organized sports, hockey, baseball, soccer. Then I played some competitive squash. And if you don't have a coach, in my opinion, you're screwed and you're behind the eight ball if you don't have that extra set of eyes on the game when you're playing to coach you and get you that next point next time where you're able to it comes back to the capacity where sometimes I think you have to take one step back to go two steps forward again.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show. I am so delighted to have my friend Chris Weitzel here for the Coaches That Don't Suck series. So, Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Amanda.
My pleasure. So Chris is just awesome. We're both in a coaching program together, and it's a high performing coaching program, and that's where we met. And Chris is a formal financial advisor, and he turned organic vegetable farmer, marketer, and now he's the owner of a fish and seafood retail store and media company. And I'm so impressed. He's in his 4th year of business with the seafood company. And what led us into conversation together is we were talking about coaching, and Chris was just about to launch his coaching program, but then something happened. And I thought that would be such a great episode for you, dear listener, to hear how to make really high quality business decisions so that you can be the highest quality coach ever. So Chris, I'm so excited that you're here.
Me too.
Yeah, it's so good. So Chris, catch me up a little bit on you've been launching this coaching business. You had this coaching idea. Tell us a little bit about what the idea was and kind of give us the backdrop of what was leading to wanting to launch.
I would say the main reason would be I've always wanted to be able to help people. So just going back about why the store that I'm in opened 4 years ago is 4 years ago, I got sober and I opened up a store after coming out of rehab that I put myself in to get better. And I work what's called, AA. I work the program. And so I started helping people get sober. And my business started to just escalate at the same time. So did my physical health, my mental health. And that is why I thought, if I can help people get sober, and I seen what Sobriety did for my business, I knew that I could now. And then you go into the elite coaching program that we're in, and you couple that with my ability to help people. It just kind of went hand in hand that's what I want to do.
I love it. I can see, so the program that he's referencing, I hate gatekeeping on information. I'm always telling people, here's who I work with, here's what I use for tech, here's what I'm big open book. And I know you are too, Chris. So we're both in Dan Martell's coaching program, and it's for established entrepreneurs who are scaling. And so, Chris, that's actually so impressive, to have started a business just 4 years ago on the heels of such a big life transformation. That's a lot of responsibility to take on after, that decision, that transformation that you went through. So I'm really curious, what would you say is really, really important for somebody who is wanting that transformative experience. Like they're done with a season of their life. You know, I actually was chatting with another coach a few months ago, and he also went through a program, you know, to achieve sobriety. He said something that really shook me, and he said, everyone is addicted to something. And, you know, it might be like, you know, traditional substance, but like maybe there's something else that you're doing that is to cope or to avoid, but like everybody has that story in some way. So what would your advice be to someone who is wanting to like leave that behavior behind? They want to conquer that, and they want to pursue at the same time, because I think that's what's really remarkable here too, is like you're not just like getting to this coping place, you went into a pursuit, you know? So can you talk to us a little bit about that? Like, what would you recommend to somebody who's kind of feeling that need to change?
Well, you have your wife leave you. That's the what needs to change part.
Mm-hmm.
And
like it gets bad.
Yeah, it was bad, but it's a good news story. She left, but we had a 3-year-old daughter, and she never knew a single thing happened because we still seen each other every night. We went to the park, but she knew the one thing to make me clean my shit up was to leave. That was the last draw. And so, but the whole thing is that you're right about addicted to, everybody's addicted to something. A lot of people, when it comes to addiction, people pleasing is a huge part of it. I mean, we can go down the list of addictions. We can start with the physical substances, alcohol being my DOC, my drug of choice. But I mean, there's food, there's, we can get in, there's porn. There's so many different levels of addiction.
Sure.
The one rehab center I went to dealt with all of them. So I got to get to know a lot of different people with a lot of different addictions. But I like how you put, I do look at it as a season of my life. I was ready even for years before that. The seed was planted years ago for me to quit because I always knew there was something more. I knew I was capable of so much more. And when you have a seed planted by certain people and then you start going like, man, you just know you want to get that monkey off your back. And I knew what I had to do finally, and I did it. But it's that striving and that need, not a need so much, but you just know that I could be doing so much more. People have come to you and say, Chris, like, come on. I mean, like, pull your head out of the sand and just do what you need to do, what you know you need to do. And I'm going to tell you, and this is, people don't really believe this part sometimes, but I was watching, my wife had left me. And so what do you do when your wife, that nagging wife, leaves you in the middle of the summer? You sit and you finally, you drink. And one day I'm sitting and I'm watching Gary Vaynerchuk give a keynote in Australia. And he likes this one saying is that you could hear the same message time after time after time. And it's not until you might hear that 16th time where it actually resonates in your head, where get over your shit. Whatever you're going through in life, get over your shit and on to the next. And that hit me. And that's when I picked up the phone, called my doctor, and got into a rehab center. So I've now met Gary Vaynerchuk a couple times. And because I took that upon myself to meet him, and I thanked him. Like, I got to actually stand there, shake his hand, hug him, and say, thanks, Gary. So that was a huge deal. That's the Cole's Note version of what I did and why.
I'm getting like literal chills about this, you know, because if there's one thing that I hear a lot from the coach community is I just want to coach. And that is a translation of I don't want to have to market, and I don't want to have to produce content, and I don't want to have to, you know, do all of these things. But I'm like getting chills up and down my body because, you know, here's Gary V doing a speech in Australia. What are the odds? Like, literally, what are the odds that he would say the thing the way you needed to hear it at that exact moment that it compelled you to, you know, then even travel to go track him down. And I'm like, that's the power of content, right? Never mind like the coaching piece of it, of getting to work with somebody in a deeper way. But like, my view is that your content is an extension of the coaching. And, you know, you never know who you're actually touching and in what way. it's kind of like that Wayne Gretzky quote, you lose 100% of the shots that you don't take. It's kind of like that when you're not present in social media. It's like, well, you're losing out on 100% of the possibilities of having authentic impact on someone. I love it. So Chris, I mean, you are clearly incredibly motivated. We were chatting on Instagram before we scheduled this podcast, and it was just really clear to me that this was on your heart, that you really, really wanted to do this. But we almost canceled the podcast, right? And it was because you sent me an email and you said, hey, well, you know what? I'm going to let you tell the story. What happened and why are you still here?
Well, I thought I would roll it all out. I've got content built, and so I'm in a business where I sell fish and seafood, and it's a full-time gig. I mean, we have 7 employees. Revenue is it's scaling. We're growing about 100% year over year for 3 years in a row now.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. So it's going well, but we actually generate about 20% of our revenue in about a 6-week period starting mid-November until New Year's Eve is really the climax. And so I know what I'm in for. I mean, this is 4 years that we've had a store. I've been selling fish and seafood for a total of 9 years, but not as a professional.
Right.
4 year is from having a brick and mortar store. So I know what I want to do, but I also know myself enough that everybody knows you can bite off more than you can chew. And when you're ambitious and you have a plan, sometimes you want to go just now, 100 miles an hour fast and run, see who can keep up with you. And I'm the epitome of that person, Amanda. And I know that about myself. I have this lady here who reminds me of that all the time. So I just finally said, I'm going to do it, and I'm just going to do it in January.
So good. Yeah. And I mean, you were so thoughtful because you sent me a note and you were like, hey, I know I'm going to be doing this a little later. It's okay if you want to give up the spot for the podcast. And I was like, well, are you still going to do it? And you were like, well, yeah. And you kind of explained what was going on, that the capacity wasn't going to be there. And I was like, we should talk about that, because I started my business. I don't think I've told you this, but I started my business while I was pregnant with my youngest son. And so I had like this little window of the maternity leave, and I was like, we're going to go for it. And it was, again, like kind of that juggernaut run towards the thing. But that was me. And I know for a fact that there's a lot of women that would never do that. Right. And this is not, so I've really thought about sharing this story a little more often. The fact I was able to start a coaching business while pregnant should tell you that it's easy to start a coaching business, not that I'm Superwoman, right? But that being said, I also had the benefit of some capacity, right? And I was very strategic in using that capacity, that I decided that was going to be my moment, and that's when I did it. The capacity of like going really fast through a maternity leave as compared to a job where I had to travel 46 weeks a year, it was like that was the window of capacity that I was like, for my context, for what I want to do, this intuitively feels like the moment. And so can you talk to us a little bit, Chris, about like, how did you decide to push it off a few months, like, versus just grit your teeth and drive through it?
I would, the capacity is just, I feel I have to know my limits. And for me, it was, if I'm going to do something, I know my limits, but then it was the coaching that I received, is that I was able to institute what we both know now is the replacement ladder. And that I knew needed to take some time. And that for me was, I needed the time to make the strategic hires that gave me the time to buy back and work more out of the production quadrant. And so that I knew would give me the capacity to focus on, like, I'm sitting here with my my producer and editor. And so this is just we can now expend more time on the marketing side of things, which is, it fits both businesses, actually, the business of coaching and the business of us creating content for fish and seafood and for our media company as well. So we literally took a marketing department and turned it into a media company. So to be able to make content for 2 different businesses and now a third for coaching. And it's all actually pretty intertwined, because at the end of the day, we build the capacity in the business to do what fires us up, to really, get you pumped up and get out of bed in the morning. And that is love making content. I had no idea that if you had asked me a year ago if I'd be going down this road now to making time in the full-time business to focus strictly on marketing, which then to me, marketing and sales, but marketing first leading to the sales. Because at the end of the day, I'm a merchant. I'm the second oldest profession in the world, and that is I'm a salesman. I've embraced that, but having the capacity, you have to build the capacity into your business to be able to focus on what fires you up, and that's how I went about it, and that's why when January comes, I'll be able to hit the road running, because I know what my goals are. I know what we need to do. And then it's just taking, how to eat an elephant, and it's one bite at a time. So
that's exactly it. And so in your journey, like as you transitioned and you started building your business and growing, like it really is very remarkable growth. Like that's incredible. What role has coaching played in your success over the past few years?
One is that I need it. I need that constant need. Garrett sitting over here smiling. Like I need that person to fuck, Chris, pump the brakes here. Let's sit down and, we'll figure out where we're going to go. But coaching is something that I always balked at, because when you have an inflated ego, and this goes back to my drinking days, is you don't need anybody's help. I am the best. I am great at everything I do. A coach, I don't need a coach. Like it wasn't until I was served up a big piece of humble pie, and I think everybody should have a coach of some type, whether it's a coach to grow personally, whether it's a coach to grow your business, whether it's a coach. I mean, I grew up playing organized sports. Hockey, baseball, soccer. Then I played some competitive squash. And if you don't have a coach, in my opinion, you're screwed and you're behind the 8 ball if you don't have that extra set of eyes on the game when you're playing to coach you and get you that next point next time where you're able to it comes back to the capacity where sometimes I think you have to take one step back to go 2 steps forward again. So
totally. I really love this, because I think one of the things people do is, because especially if you're coming from like an employment perspective where you were an employee, you fulfilled a particular role, you had your SOPs, you had the task list or the inbox or whatever that basically ruled your day. When you go to become an entrepreneur, the joy is in the freedom and the terror is in the freedom, right?
That's a great way to put it.
Right? And so I was like, goodness, the role of coach is as much social as it is anything else. Like some people like to have a coach to help them with here's the 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. But I think at the end of the day, coaching is like it's a leadership role where the relationship allows for real introspection and perspective shifting, that the client can make much more empowered decisions, which tend to yield better results. Like it doesn't matter if we're talking about wealth, relationships, health, just in general. If your client is in this position where they can make a decision with witness, already they're outperforming a whole bunch of other people in that realm, just simply because they're not crushed by the ego. I love that. Okay, so Chris, in your opinion, what are 3 things that help a coach not to suck?
3 things that help a coach not to suck. I would think that one thing I would think to always let people know is that I believe you only have to be 1 chapter ahead of people, and I like that analogy in that I think we can help anybody if you just accept the fact that you're only a chapter or 2 ahead of most of the people. maybe the one thing, damn, that's a good question, Amanda.
Yeah, well, and it's good, right? Because you're going into January, so if you have these things in mind, you're gonna, sorry to coach you right here on a podcast, but yeah, like when you know those things, that's gonna really help.
I think the next thing to know about not to suck would be actually, you got to start. I mean,
yes.
And this is coming from the guy that waited to know that I needed the time to get through my busiest part of the season. But you have to start. I mean, anybody can get caught up in the procrastination of starting something, but nothing, I guess to not suck means you want to start. And I just don't think that everybody thinks they have to have it figured out. And I don't think that's the case. So I think that's even when attracting clients they just have to start and admit that they actually need the help. The third thing of not sucking would be putting your ego, again, I mentioned the ego, because I believe that we're all made up of half ego and half self. And if you can keep everything in line, that's the ultimate goal. But you have to give up your ego and accept the fact that, like, I actually love learning. Anytime that I have a customer come in here, and we cater to a lot of business owners, I keep business owners in front of me for as long as I can keep them there. Like, I will talk and ask questions and listen because I can extract so much information that like, just to give you a quick how did I get to this point, was that for about 12 years before I got into kind of both into fish and seafood, I grew vegetables. I was organic vegetable farmer, and I stood on the side of a busy highway for a dozen years selling fruits and vegetables to a lot of tourists. And there would be lulls in the day where you would have nobody at your stand, but it was just an unwritten rule. If there was a vehicle in your stand, it attracted more vehicles. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me how. This must be one of the unwritten 13th law of the universe, but it happens. So when I would have one person stop, I would just listen and talk. This is why at one point, I think the seed was planted years ago, why I wanted to get into podcasting and creating content, was that I had this gift, I guess you could call it. I hate the term gift of gab, but I was able to keep people engaged in a conversation until they actually looked at their watch, and 20 minutes later, and a lineup now it's like, okay, thank you. Now I got to go, but thank you for taking the time. And so that's
such a gorgeous skill,
Yeah, so that is why I knew at some point that I was going to get into some type of, like, talking. I think there's an art to talking.
I agree with you completely. Chris, we could do a 3-hour episode. I'm like so confident of that, but I didn't book you for that long. So what's the best way for people to follow you and catch up with you and find out what's going on?
Yeah, so like follow me on Instagram at chrisweitzel.ca and DM me Ignite. So I'm a salesman. I will send you my Ignite sales system, which applies to any type of industry, so you can help ramp up your best salespeople and hit the numbers that you knew you were always worthy of. So again, Chris, ChrisWeitzel.ca, DM me Ignite, and I will send you the Ignite sales system, help you out.
Amazing. And don't forget to tell Chris that you heard him on the Amanda Kaufman Show, so then he will want to come back and we can do that 3-hour episode.
Anytime, Amanda.
Love it. Well, hey, listener, thanks for joining us. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and do us a favor, leave a 5-star review. Chris just did a great job on the podcast. He deserves all your praise. But seriously, that really does help people find the episode and to spread more ideas about how you can be successful in all the different ways. Also, I'm sure you've got a few friends who are kind of thinking about maybe they need to take a break. Maybe they need to do something about their capacity, or maybe they need to improve like their sales, the gift of gab, and they're going through this transition. Go ahead and send this episode to them. You'll be their hero. So send it to three friends, and we will see you on a future episode.